Well, who doesn't love a good underdog story? And this one is the greatest of all time. And now you can experience it on your TV, streaming this month.
I saw the print of a hand, larger than a weaver's basket.
They have a giant. What?
My king, I will fight the giant.
Fight him with the same spirit you bring into this room.
And this is CIA, Contagious Influencers of America. I'm David Sams. House of David is an epic series coming to you exclusively on Prime Video on February 27th. It tells the story of the biblical figure David, who becomes the most renowned and celebrated king of Israel. It's a series charting the fall of one leader and the rise of another. And yes, it will depict the mighty battle between David and Goliath. House of David comes to us from Wonder Project Studio and was created, developed, and directed by our friend Jon Erwin, who also directed Jesus Revolution, I Still Believe, American Underdog, Mom's Night Out, and I Can Only Imagine, and of course so many others. He's a good friend, and by the way, he's the first and only director to receive an A+ cinema score 4 times out of all the directors out there. So congratulations, Jon. And by the way, he also co-directed this with a good friend, John Gunn. So I'm going to have him here in just a second and to talk about this bigger-than-life series. But first, let's take a peek at House of David, coming to Prime Video on February the 27th.
Can one stone change the course of history?
Cowards! Send me your champion!
Goliath!
Can one act of defiance create the legend? I will tell you the story of David, a simple shepherd boy.
Why do my brothers get to fight? And I'm stuck here.
David, you are not a man of blood.
An outcast who became one of the most famous kings who ever lived.
God does not see what man sees.
He sees into the heart. And you have the heart of a lion.
The Philistines have assembled. I saw the print of a hand, larger than a weaver's basket.
They have a giant. What?
My king, I will fight the giant.
Fight him with the same spirit you bring into this room.
You play music for my father. Now he chooses you as champion. How will you do this?
It's not about the greatness of the giant. It is about the greatness of God.
Are you afraid?
Terrified.
I believe in you.
So, as the fate of a people hangs in the balance, again I ask this question. Can one stone change the course of history?
Well, I have my friend Jon Erwin with us today. Jon, of course, he's a big-time guy, big-time movie director. Aren't you, Jon?
I don't know about that. I'm actually grateful, whenever I think about people going to see the movies, and especially if someone tells a story of how a movie was meaningful to them, or a story changed their life as it did mine, or I think about finally getting to do the Bible, which I've wanted to do since I was a teenager, and it coming out to the world. I really am in utter shock that I get to do this job at all, and I think that that I am living proof that God can use anybody, to accomplish what He wants to in the world. But I love what I do, and I love telling stories. I think we serve the greatest storyteller of all time, and I'm grateful to tell stories that are really meaningful to me, and then hope that they're also meaningful to the people that watch them. And I'm very grateful to the audience for you. Many years we've been on many adventures together.
Many adventures, absolutely.
Many adventures.
And we're going to talk about your new venture and everything you got going, and especially your new project that hits the screens here in just really a few days, weeks, and that's House of David, which is coming on Prime Video. And we're really excited about that because this is a whole new game for you, the streaming world. But I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you and everything that you've done to further family entertainment, faith-based entertainment. I did not know you back as far as when you were an ESPN photographer or videographer.
Yeah, that was my first job.
I'm a big Ohio State guy, so I'm really into that world, And
yeah,
I know you were an Alabama guy, right?
I would say Roll Tide because that's what Alabama started my career. I was a cameraman got sick about 3 hours before the kickoff to a game. I was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, and I lived, like 45 minutes from the stadium. And so a cameraman that I was apprenticing for at my church called me and said, hey, would you get over here right now? I told him I knew a guy, and just don't tell them anything. Don't tell them that you've never done this before. And so I went over there. My dad dropped me off like 4 blocks away because I didn't want anyone to know I couldn't drive, and I had the time of my life. I met my vocational passion very early, but I do think the lesson, I think there's a Teddy Roosevelt quote that says, if someone asks if you can do something, just say yes and quickly go learn how to do it. And that's kind of what happened. And I fell in love with the entertainment business just as a teenager then. And the next year, actually when I was 16, I went, my dad bought me a camera with money he did not have. And my first camera, probably the greatest gift of my life. And we went to Israel together for a week. And we did a little documentary called In the Steps of Jesus. And we stayed on a kibbutz on the Sea of Galilee. And we stayed inside the old city of Jerusalem. It's just me and my dad. And I could feel, I really believe in sometimes the magic of a place like Pirates Cove and Jesus Revolution, and that's why we filmed at the real location. But I remember being in the old city of Jerusalem and going to David's tomb. And you think that this 1 square mile city has been so influential for 3,000 years, and this was his city, and everyone knows David and Goliath, and they say there's 2 deaths. There's one death when you die, and the second is when the last person speaks your name. And to think that this person's words have been echoing through the centuries to the point where they're still meaningful to us today, and was such a man after God's own heart, despite his mistakes, which were pretty profound. I just remember that spark of curiosity at such a young age. So all the films, the sports movies like Woodlawn or American Underdog, or the music movies, David was a musician, so I can only imagine, I still believe, and Jesus Revolution, and it's been trying to work up the level of skill to be able to tell David's story. So the idea of being able to do it is this epic series with a partner like Prime Video, and it's the first time I've ever been involved in a global release. It's very, very exciting.
Yeah, I was saying, we sort of had a similar strategy on how we started our careers, and that is just fake it till you make it. Right.
Sometimes you just got to go for it, and God opens doors, but you have to step through them, and sometimes that's scary. And I think one of the things I love about the story we're telling now is, David had to step on that battlefield, not knowing what would happen, being the only person in Israel that was willing to go out and defy this giant. And we dramatize it in the show, but I can't imagine how scary that first step was. And sometimes the first step is the scariest step and often the most important. And so I think whenever God calls you to something, I think it's going to be far beyond your competence. It's going to be scary, and it's going to require a lot of faith. And so I think I've never regretted just going for it, you know. And sometimes you just got to step into an opportunity and see what happens. And that's certainly what I did when I was 15, and I know you've done the same. And I would encourage the audience that, you know, I think you'll regret more not trying than you will trying and failing, you know. And so go for it, you know. I think is one of the messages of my early career anyway. And I still feel like I'm faking it till I make it. I asked my pastor a couple of years ago, I'm like, do the feelings of profound inadequacy ever go away? And he's like, no, they shouldn't. You know, I just feel it's a privilege to be able to do what we do, and I'm grateful to be able to serve the audience with stories I hope they find meaningful.
Yeah, and you bring up your dad. Your dad has certainly, I think, been your biggest cheerleader. I love your dad.
Oh, he said, you know, when he bought me that camera, he said, dream bold, dream big, dream the impossible. And I think that we've been trying to do that ever since. And I do think impossible is often where the work begins, you know. And so, but he always has encouraged me to dream, and always been a fan of my dreams. And I think, in essence, you know, life is too short for small ideas, you know. And so that you know, my dad is the ultimate dreamer, and I try to follow in his footsteps in that way.
So you started this new entity with your friends there, and for Prime Video, and tell me about that, because you're taking a very unique approach, and are you sort of trying to be the what could I compare it to? It sounds to me like the Wonder Project is a little bit like the old United Artists, you know.
Well, look, that's a magnificent thing to be compared to in any capacity. The dream of Wonder is you know, I'm grateful to be you know, founder of a you know, the production company Kingdom Story Company, and as we were making films as a production company, I remember when we did our deal with Lionsgate, and a real mentor, Michael Burns, the chairman there, and John Feltheimer said, you know, what do you want? And I said, I really want to be seen as an entrepreneur first and a filmmaker second. I would love to know how a studio works. I would love to understand, because oftentimes it's like we're this underserved audience, and we know the audience, but we have to sort of go through studios, and oftentimes it feels like you're building everyone else's home, and a lot of these homes are built on sand, and they mentored me and kind of said yes, and I kind of felt like I was able to study a studio, and the more I studied it, the more I thought, I think we can do this, and you know, I think it's possible. And instead of trying to just make content for other studios, what if we could create one that could endure? And that sometimes God plants an idea in your mind, and it just becomes like a splinter, and you can't get rid of it. And I just felt like that could be probably, if it would work. And yes, the odds are unlikely, and it's very difficult. Movie studios are very difficult. But if you could have a studio work, you know, there were several studios over the last couple of years that have celebrated 100 years of telling stories, and I just felt like, wouldn't that be amazing if there was a studio that could fund projects like the ones my brother and I make, or other filmmakers or other production companies, and there could be a place where this work could happen in an enduring way. Well, that means you got to raise a lot of money, you got to get a team together, and so it's hard. It's very difficult. But I think sometimes if you're doing something hard, it's important to remind yourself of why you're doing it, and of how profound it would be if it actually worked. And I just think it's amazing that already we're able to tell stories like David globally to the world, and we're able to do it in an independent way in which we have creative control. And that is the idea. United Artists is a great illustration, and it's so cool. The trailer to House of David, you know, it has the MGM logo, and it says celebrating 100 years, and then it has the Wonder logo, and it's a reminder of what's truly possible if we could create an independent studio that could endure. And so that's that's the dream of Wonder, and I'm very grateful to people that have supported us and of the work that we're able to do. But ultimately, it's just an extension of telling stories in a more and more meaningful way, in a global way, with a level of scale that I wouldn't have been able to dream was possible a decade ago, and then do it with wonderful people, and hopefully over time really begin to empower the great storytellers in our space with freedom and support. And that's the dream and goal. And because I think whether it's myself and my brother or Dallas Jenkins or others, it's very difficult trying to convince studios to serve the Christian audience sometimes. And it's possible because the voice of the audience is so loud, but it is difficult. So I just felt, I feel a great conviction that if there was a place that, that these things could happen over and over again for a very long time, that would be a pretty profound thing. And so that's the idea of an independent studio is the dream that became Wonder.
And of course, for those watching, Dallas Jenkins is the creator of The Chosen, the hit series The Chosen, and you've now done a couple of projects with him. First of all, you surround yourself by great people. I know back in the early part of your career, you were sort of, I don't know if mentored's the right word, but we worked a lot with the Kendrick brothers.
Oh, I had a huge moment. One of those. There's life is made up in moments. I found out. And one of those moments for me is I was I'd worked for ESPN, and then I was directing a lot of music videos. My brother and I were a lot of Christian music videos and also commercials. But basically, I had a career. Is a way to think about it. I had a craft. But I did not have a life's calling in my work. I was just making a living, trying to get better at what I did. And it was Alex Kendrick. I was working for him on the movie Courageous, and they wanted to shoot on the Red camera, which is this camera that was popular at the time, and I was good at that, and I owned one, and then I came in to direct the action sequences as the second unit director. Courageous is a great movie, and it has a lot of car chases, and they make their movies with a lot of church volunteers from Sherwood, which is an amazing place, and you don't want to combine that with car chases. Volunteers can get run over. So it was my job to take professionals and stunt people and do the action scenes to the movie, and had a wonderful time. Beth and I had a wonderful time in Albany, Georgia. And Alex, Southern Baptist as he is, one of the first questions out of his mouth was, what's your purpose and the purpose of your work? And I couldn't answer it. And the whole time I was working on the movie, I thought about that question. And after, it was like the push I needed to fuse my craft with a life's calling. And I would say that if you spend the time, David is a great illustration. We forget there's long seasons of preparation for short seasons of influence. And if you will spend your time getting really good at something, as Steve Martin would say, to be undeniably good at something. And then when you decide to use that thing for a purpose beyond yourself, for a greater purpose, to serve God instead of your own ambition, I think you'll never be more fulfilled in your career. That was the moment where I kind of fused I'm gonna take this thing that I've learned to do, and I'm continuing to try to be a student of, and I'm gonna use it for God's purposes. It reminds me of the verse where Paul says of David that he served the purposes of God in his generation in Acts, and I just think that that's the way. We all have a way to do that, to serve what never changes with a generation that's constantly changing. And film and television is just my way of doing that. And the Kendricks were a huge part of it. And my whole career has been influenced by incredible mentors and people that seek out somebody that's doing what you want to do and try to get around them, and ask questions. And sometimes they let you. And my whole career has been a stepping stone of mentor after mentor that has been willing to teach me what they do, and I'm very grateful to them.
I have to tell you a funny story about the Kendricks. I forget, they were at here at the studio at one point, here at the Homestead, And we did the hour and a half working together. And as they were walking out, they said, "Hey, I want to ask you a question. Do you know if you're going to heaven?" And you know what I'm talking about here. It was a 2-hour conversation. So the session was an hour and a half, but that question opened up a 2-hour conversation.
Every time I'm with Stephen Kendrick, we talk till like 2 a.m. over something profound. The question before they were like, "Is there anything in your life that would prevent God's hand of blessing on the film?" And I'm like, do you want me to get a pen and paper? I mean, I'm fairly dependent on this grace concept, and I'm a work in progress, and I'm doing the best I can, man. But it's just that they're like that, but it does lead to some pretty marvelous conversations, and sometimes a great question can change your life, and
absolutely,
it certainly was.
Absolutely. Well, I didn't forget that one.
Yeah, that's a bold thing. Southern Baptists, man, they're bold people,
exactly.
And they just cut to the chase.
Exactly. Well, it's great that you're working with Dallas and that he's part of this. Let's talk about your first big project in this new venture, this company, because couldn't you started with just some little thing, just some little film? I mean, what is this? What is this? First of all, you have taken an iconic character, right? And you take this bit. First of all, where did you find Goliath? Let's start with that.
I hope you can talk to Martin Ford, man. He's one of the greatest guys I've met, and enormous guy. He's in the Mortal Kombat films. He was in Roland Emmerich's Gladiator show on Peacock, and he's a massive guy, but also just a generous soul and a wonderful guy. Great story of overcoming the odds, and an incredible Goliath. We just have an incredible cast, and a wonderful guy. And it was pretty funny as we're filming, because he was so much fun to work with. I finally said, "Man, Martin, I don't know what to do, because I love working with you, but what we're working on is based off a real bestseller here, and I think we have to follow the plot, so I got to kill you." And he's like, "Well, we could do a prequel. We could do a Goliath prequel, or a Goliath, origin story or something." But he's wonderful, and the cast is wonderful. And I always think, for me, I always want to be making something where I could say, if this for some unforeseen reason is the last project that I ever do, would I be happy with that? And I felt that way about Jesus Revolution. I felt so strongly. And to me, I've really been trying to work towards being able to tell David's story since I was a teenager. And in fact, the first screenplay I ever wrote 15 years ago was on David. I don't know if it was any good, because I was a very young writer, but it was on David as a movie. But I think one of the reasons why there's no real kind of definitive movie on David is his story is just too big. It's a literal odyssey, and it has so many chapters, and he's such a complex character, wonderful character, but he had such incredible honesty, and the Psalms. I think if you haven't really read the Bible ever, of course, starting with the Gospel of John is the place to start. But second to that, I think, is read the Psalms. If you want the most relatable words in the Bible. There's only about 20% of them that are just life is great, God is great, praising God. The rest are like I'm struggling, I'm going through things I don't understand, I'm hurting. God, where are you? I mean, some of the most relatable words you'll ever read, and the fact that a king wrote them and published them to his people in the form of Psalms, and was so candid about his own mistakes is, I think, the reason why they echo into our time. And so I just think it's the ultimate, for a filmmaker, it's the ultimate story. It's David and Goliath. It's the ultimate coming-of-age story. It's the ultimate hero's journey. I think it's, in many ways, the origin of origin stories like Luke Skywalker or Harry Potter, or, this is the first of those in many ways, or one of the first. And so I think if you love those type of stories, you'll instantly relate to and love this story. And yet, my hope is, I've got to be very candid and honest. I struggle as a parent getting my kids to, in this distracted culture we live in, to read the Bible at all or to know anything about it. And And I know that's a struggle other parents feel. And so I feel like if we can translate this material into their language, which is mass entertainment, it'll make them say, wow, I like this story. That's really cool. I want to read the book that it's based on. And that's my ultimate hope. The ultimate win for this project would be for people to see it and talk about it, and then go back to the book that can change their life, which is the Bible itself, and draw attention back to the Bible. That's my hope and dream. But it's an epic series. I certainly have never had these type of resources to make something as big as we can make it. It's big, but I think my goal is that it also has the the heart of the story and the heart that I've grown to love. So in many ways, I've been preparing for this story for my whole career.
So here you're going to go to an all new venue. I think you're debuting in 200 some countries at once.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, is this in multiple languages?
It is. Yeah. It's what's amazing? It's amazing that we have more capabilities to reach people overnight than if you think about the apostles, who were instructed to get the gospel to the whole world. And I know Dallas will do a marvelous job with that moment. The Great Commission. They didn't even know the continent that we're on existed, or that you're on. I'm in Europe right now, but they had no idea. And all these years later, we finally have the ability to reach the world. And it's amazing that when we champion something, when our voice is heard together as Christians, it allows things to go all over the globe. Entertainment is America's second largest export, and so our voice has been heard, and given us resources like this. And when we champion something and we make it popular together, it goes all over the world. And in this case, this is the first truly global release. So House of David is released globally, which is the first time in my career, in 25 languages and over 200 countries. And that's just such an amazing thing. To be able to get the Bible to the world like this, and we would not be able to do it at all if it wasn't for the support of the audience and for us unifying our voice. I often talk about it. It's like if you think about Joshua and the Battle of Jericho, the final step before walls falling down was they unified their voice. Their voices came together as one. When we do that, it creates this amazing thing called FOMO, which is the fear of missing out, and millions of people end up seeing it because they have just heard that it's popular. And so that's what I'm excited about. And this is a new step in our career of something going this wide, this quickly. And I'm thrilled to be able to get the Bible to the world in this way. And I hope the audience really, really enjoys it. I love the show. I tell people I'm only one viewer, but I'm the first viewer. I love the show. And I hope the audience feels the same way.
So you start out with 3 episodes. So you can binge on 3 episodes, and then it's weekly after that, correct?
Yeah. So it's we start out with 3 episodes. The 3rd episode involves the anointing of David as king, and if you think about it, he's being anointed as a king in a nation that has a king. This is a scary thing, when Samuel anoints David and says that famous line, "God doesn't see as man sees." Man looks at the outward appearance; God looks at the heart. And that happens in episode 3, and then the finale of season 1 is David and Goliath, and it's spectacular. It's really, really great, and so that's basically the story of season 1, and Michael, who plays David, we did a global search, and looked at 3,000 people overall, hundreds for David, and could not and really found Michael on Broadway, and he has an amazing story. He's a Christian kid, and with just a depth of soul, and he's an incredible musician. Sings all of the songs live, and just has an amazing story, and really feels. And I echo this, that God has prepared him for this role his whole life, and he's surrounded by an incredible cast. Stephen Lang is in it, who's just an amazing actor. I mean, he's in so many things. I mean, most people would know him as the antagonist or the villain in Avatar, but he's in Gettysburg and many other things. And Ali and Eilette, who Saul and Hinnoam, and just the whole cast is really, really, really great. And surrounding this new voice, literally, and this new face, and Michael, and that I cannot wait for the audience to see. And I'm making this movie alongside the series alongside John Gunn, who I've worked with basically for the last 5 years. Everything we've done has involved him in some way, and he's incredible. And his movie Unbreakable Boy is about to come out this year, and his movie Ordinary Angels came out last year that we co-wrote together, and we're making the series together, and so it's just surrounded by an epic team, and filming in Greece, which is just staggering in its beauty and its history, and I can't wait for the audience to just see the country, because it's an amazing place, and kind of the heart of storytelling, if you think about it. If you think about some of the stories here. So it's a wonderful team of people, and it's a wonderful cast, and I'm very, very proud of the show that we've created, and I hope the audience enjoys it.
So let's just, as we wrap it up here, let's talk about the future. The way you've set this up, and you want to collaborate with other folks, other storytellers, other filmmakers, what would be your, if you could just do a shout out to these people who you want to attract, and we'll make sure we put your home number on the bottom of the screen during your answer, so that everybody can reach out to you.
Sure. Put my email. I have so many unread emails. Anyway, we talked about that earlier offline. You have more than me, but put it in there. What am I looking for?
Yeah, what's the Wonder Project looking for? What as you go forward and you have this mission in mind? Give me some examples of what you're looking for.
Well, I think ultimately, I love when David says in the Psalms, come glorify God with me, let's exalt his name together. And that's sort of the idea, is let's collaborate, let's make great things. We see the studio as a values-based studio that just does everything from something like Jesus Revolution. But, I also think a movie like Top Gun Maverick, really what we say is and I had nothing to do with that movie, but obviously, except watching it like 10 times, like we all have. But, we talk about content that restores faith in things worth believing in, even those things that are imperfect. And whether that's Christianity, whether that's America itself. My next movie is on the young life of George Washington, which I've been wanting to do for a long time. Or the family, or the truths that really are the foundational in Christianity. I think the audience wants it all, and so I would say that our mission is to serve and empower, serve the audience, entertain the audience in a meaningful way, and we do that by serving and empowering the storytellers, of which I am one. And I just look forward to a place where the very best are coming together to tell stories that they deeply believe in, that are bringing hope to people and restoring faith in things worth believing in. And I just think that, yes, it's a whole lot easier to criticize than it is to create, and so yes, there's things that are flawed, but they're still worth believing in. And so I would say that, if on the one hand, it's wonderful to see this moment in our industry where A-list talent is saying enough is enough. I have to unify my values to my work. So it's incredible to be able to work with some of the people we're working with. And then there's also, people that are, like I was when I was 15, just dreaming. And I look, what I love most is giving opportunity to someone who is called to do this and hasn't done it yet, like Michael. I love that. And so the dream of Wonder is to empower the best storytellers in our business and emerging voices with resources and freedom to really entertain this audience. And so, to those listening, we're just getting started, and House of David is the first of many projects, and we want to build something that can endure. I joke around. I'm like, my dream is to create a studio that'll last 100 years, and I want to get it halfway. If Clint Eastwood can do it, I can do it. And so. But the point is, we want something. We want to make something that can really outlive us and have a profound impact on people's lives. And that's the goal, and that's the dream, and we're working hard every day at making that dream a reality. And we would not be able to do it without the support of you and of your audience and of everyone that has championed the films. I joke around that eventually the Hollywood trades are going to have to stop using words like shocked, like, oh, the faith audience shocks the industry again. I'm like, how many times can the industry be shocked? We're here, we're big, we're underserved. And so it's exciting to be able to get more and more resources for the work. It's really it's amazing to see just the scope and scale at which we're able to tell, for instance, David's story. And then when you think about Dallas Jenkins, who's a special advisor to the Wonder Project, has been part of it from day one. Season 5 of The Chosen comes right out, so it's going to be great. It's going to be like the year of the Bible. It's like once House of David starts airing, just about every week there's going to be this big biblical episode for quite some time, and it's just so cool to see to see that we're finally able to get the Bible to the big screen in a way that's very unique, at least in my lifetime, and we're doing it together, and that's very exciting, and we couldn't do it without the audience. And so I hope you love the show, and I can't wait for people to see it, and especially the David and Goliath confrontation is pretty spectacular and pretty unique. I've not seen anything like it before, and I'm grateful to have been a part of it.
Well, my friend, it's I certainly. Then again, I've seen the first 3 episodes, and it's really something. And I would encourage everyone watching and listening to check it out. It comes to Prime Video on February 27th. The series is called House of David, and I just got to tell you, we just so appreciate you. We appreciate everything that you do. You're always just bringing us just wonderful projects, and I just have to tell you that both you, your brother, the whole team at Kingdom Story, and now at the Wonder Project, you guys just got it together. I mean, you've been. I think I forget when we started working together. It's probably been 10 years, but you guys have always been so supportive of us and of Christian radio and all of our friends and our affiliates. And I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you.
Well, the feeling is mutual, my friend. We're in this together, and I think we're in a moment in time where we can really do some meaningful work, and it's just amazing the stories we get to tell. And I was, Dallas Jenkins' Christmas movie that we worked on for a couple of years together, and was such a success, and I'm so grateful, and I love the movie. My whole family loved the movie. And my brother is about to start directing a movie that we've been talking about for a long time, which is doing a sequel to I Can Only Imagine, and the story's magnificent. And Brent McCorkle, who directed Jesus Revolution with me, is doing it. So just the stories that we're being that are being told are really great, and it's amazing to see this happen.
I understand the title of that new film is called I Can Only Reimagine.
I can only imagine again. I'm still imagining. Anyway, but the story's great. The story's amazing, and Brent's an incredible filmmaker, as is my brother, and so it's amazing to see the stories that we're all able to be a part of together and tell. And again, it's just it's like a tree that's just growing out into branches, and it's really exciting to watch, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. I'd rather be a small part of God's big picture, than a big part of something small. So it's exciting.
I mean, that was crazy. Did you really expect the best Christmas pageant to do $40 million at the box office?
Well, I just, but here's the thing. I remember Dallas and I started talking in, we have this joke because we did an event at NRB and announced, what we were doing, and then he had done the first 3 episodes of Chosen, and then I didn't know him, and then he did his event, then I went to his event. I'm like, what is this? And we got to know each other, and I'm just like, what else would you just love to do? And he mentioned this book, Christmas Pageant. He'd been trying for 12 years to get the rights, to get it made. And I'm like, well, who owns the rights? Let's go kidnap them, whatever. And which we didn't have to do. I just want to point out, for the purpose of this radio broadcast, they they partnered willingly, but we set out to get the rights and to make it. And I remember we went to Lionsgate, and we decorated the whole bottom level of Lionsgate like a Christmas pageant, and had like this Christmas tree, and they all had ornaments with Dallas kids' names, and the rights holders were there, and we just talked about our enthusiasm. Then we started developing the project, and so these things take a while, and I just think Dallas made a wonderful film.
Yeah, sure did.
And it was filled with his passion, and so it was great to be able to just help again empower the idea, and then what's great about it is it was one of those films that it was the gift that kept giving, and the audience just kept showing up for it, and it was a huge hit, and it's worthy because it's a wonderful experience, and he did a great job. He did a truly great job, and that's the vision and dream is for us to collaborate on ideas that it's just a wonderful thing when another filmmaker has wanted to do something for a long time and never been able to get in this case the rights or the production finance or whatever the obstacle is. It's wonderful to come alongside somebody and say, hey, let's knock down that obstacle together and let's get this done. And there's some stories I'm called to tell, like David, but if that's a story that you're called to tell, let's get it done together. And we all work very hard, and my brother and Kevin Downs and everyone producing the film, it was like 40 below zero all the time. But we say pain is temporary, film is forever, and I'm glad the effort was worth it, and it was a wonderful result for us and for Lionsgate and for everyone. So very grateful for that.
And thank you, Jon. The series is House of David. It premieres on Prime Video February the 27th. Streams all around the world, so do check it out. House of David on Prime Video February 27th. This has been CIA, Contagious Influencers of America, from the producers of the #1 faith-based show in all of America. That's Keep the Faith. And we'd love to have you join us. And by the way, we have live streams now on Keep the Faith. Just go to KeepTheFaith.com and you can listen to our show 24/7. And there's all kinds of goodies there for you too. That's at KeepTheFaith.com. And check out all of our episodes of Contagious Influencers of America at ContagiousInfluencers.com. That's there for you too, so do check that out. Until next time, go out there and live that life in living color, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living it in black and white. See you next time.